Hi, welcome to the Brick Filmers Guild podcast, hosted by us, the Four Monkeys. On this podcast, we had the extreme pleasure of chatting with Maxime Marion. Maxime is the talented French brick filmer behind the multi-award-winning brick film series Henri and Edmond. He was also a recent winner of the Cinebrick Brick Film Festival in Portugal with his adorable brick film Sheep. He is currently producing and animating a crowd-funded stop-motion project called Le Secret of Monsieur. It's a very special project which you will hear all about with the proper French pronunciation during the podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Brick Warriors. Prepare to take your LEGO minifigures to the next level with a whole world of imaginative custom LEGO accessories from Brick Warriors. Brick Warriors offers custom LEGO-compatible weapons, guns, helmets, armor, and accessories. All Brick Warriors toys fit seamlessly with your LEGO minifigures and are made from the same high-quality ABS plastic. Visit them online today at www.brickwarriors.com. This podcast is also sponsored by Ninja Brick. For all the latest LEGO leaks, news, and reviews, check out ninjabrick.com. Also, be sure to follow their social media channels, Ninja Brick News, for regular LEGO giveaways, and subscribe to their newsletter for exclusive updates. Their independent website has been created as a hub for LEGO fans around the globe who want to catch up on all the latest news and reviews. As their website grows, they aim to build a community of fans offering help and tips to other like-minded people who are just as passionate about LEGO. So please check out ninjabrick.com. Please help support our podcast by becoming a Patreon supporter. Get podcasts a week early and other perks only available to our Patreon supporters. So, without further ado, here's our conversation with Maxime. Bonjour, Maxime. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Salut, the Four Monkeys.
Love it. I'm sure if for those that don't know, you are in France.
Exactly. And I'm living near Strasbourg, which is the far east of France, in a small town called Molsheim, which is in Alsace. It's that region east of France where I'm living.
And you know English and French. Do you know German since you live in that area?
Well, the Germany is just. I'm living really next to Germany. Germany is like 20 kilometers from here. I don't talk German. I know a few words. Hallo, wie geht's? But no, I don't speak German. English and French only.
Okay.
Well, that's still one more than we know.
So you've been making multimedia film projects for a long time. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean that's been almost 10 years now. I've started working first for a communication company. I was doing small videos, documentaries, and things like that. But when I finished being a student back in 2007, I wanted to try stop motion animation, and I made my first brick film back then. And it slowly evolved so that right now I'm doing a lot of multimedia videos, but some animation as a professional as well. It's a little bit of all that all together, so that it's I like, because I don't have 2 days one after the other that looks the same. Every day is different, and I really love that.
Right. It's been almost 10 years since you have released your first brick film. Was there something you saw specifically that interested you, that got you into brick filming stop motion to begin with? Did you see a film, or you were working with that and you thought, okay, this is something I want to do?
Well, when I was something like 13 years old, back in the days, I discovered the Wallace and Gromit shorts. And the first time I discovered them, we didn't have internet at that moment. It was there was some kind of TV series where they were talking about animation worldwide. And it was the first time I saw another kind of animation, not computer-generated images or a cartoon, like animation on paper. That was the first time I was discovering something else. And it was really, really thrilling to discover something completely new. I've never seen that, the claymation, the animation with characters made of clay. And I was quite fascinated by the Wallace and Gromit shorts. Not only those ones, there were many other ones a little bit later, but those were the first ones I discovered. And I wanted to try to do some stop motion animation. And I think I started when I was 13 or 14 years old trying, but it was really bad. I didn't have the right equipment. There was no digital cameras back then, and it was really horrible results. And I almost, I abandoned.
Abandoned.
How do you say that?
Abandoned.
You abandoned. Okay. Yeah, I abandoned the creation of stop motion back then. But slowly, when I started, when I finished my studies, I started doing some stop motion animation because I was really fascinated by that kind of animation. So that I didn't know what to use. And the first thing that came to my mind was to use my Lego figures, because I already created my own characters. When I was a kid, I had all of them in a card box, and I just I decided to use that and to try to make a film out of it. It was I made a few tests that were really bad, but I slowly learned. And a few months later, the New Neighbor, my first brick film, and my first animated film was ready. It was a great experience because I had a lot of friends who helped on the project with the voice acting and for the music and many different advice that I got from friends. It was quite an exciting time. When the first movie was released, I was quite, I was, really enjoying giving life to those figures. And the film went to a few festivals. It went on the internet, and it started it all.
Yeah, that whenever we get ready to do a podcast, the day before, we always watch as many videos to refresh our memory. It was such a pleasure watching all of your videos. Your first one, the New Neighbor, Henri and Edmond. They are just, it is subtitled, but you don't even you forget that you're even reading. You get so into the characters. It's just like watching real people, and there's so much heart. And after I finished it, I was like, I love. Obviously, we watched all of the rest of the series, but your videos have a moral to them. They're not just. It's not just some random story. They have heart and they have feeling, and you love the characters so much. It was amazing. And then if you had asked me, oh, was it subtitled? I probably would have forgotten that it was even subtitled. I just thought I was listening to, to them talking myself. Truly amazing. Beautiful, beautiful work.
Thank you very much. But I think that there's a real kind of love for the characters, the way they are, and I have always a great pleasure to going back, writing some new stories and trying to imagine them. And I like the friendship between them, between the two main characters. And it's always good to come back to it and to imagine what kind of adventure, what kind of... well, there are two things. First, the characters are interesting by themselves, so that I have a pleasure trying to stay true to what they are every time I'm writing stories for them. And at the same time, it's some kind of a challenge for me, trying to make them like real people, as you said, trying to convey emotion. And I remember when I animated the first one, The New Neighbor, I was a bit afraid that people will be, they will not accept, I don't know how to explain that, but that subconsciously there would be a problem with those characters that have no facial expressions. They talk, but you don't see their mouth moving, and you don't see their expressions on their face. And I was really afraid of that. I thought, okay, people will watch it and think it's a cheap film. It's a cheap. It's cheap. It's bad. It's not interesting because you don't believe those characters are actually talking or more like they are actually real characters. I was really afraid of that. And I was surprised during the first screenings that people were actually hooked by the story and by the characters. And there's one sequence that was really interesting for me. It was when near the end of the film, when the bad guy Vladimir is chasing them, and they think they will die, and they are afraid, and they are shaking and everything. And we completely, and even I forget that they are actually, that they still have the same smiley face during that sequence. And it was really surprising for me that at some point, even myself, while watching a Brick film, I forget there's no expression on their face. There's only one big smile, even when they are afraid. But we actually believe that they are afraid or that they are sad or everything. And when I started writing a copyright, the second film in what is now a trilogy, I was trying to write the story in a way that would push that idea that the characters, while they keep that smiley face, we can actually, with the music, with the way the movie is directed, the way the characters stand, the way they move, we can make them have feelings. We can make them feel emotions, and the audience, we can manipulate the audience to believe that they are actually changing their face. And sometimes I'm telling to the people, yeah, because they always have the same face, and people are like, really? They didn't change? Because at some point I thought they were really sad. Or sometimes I'm asked if I change their faces a little bit so that there are nuances, like subtle details that allow those emotions to exist. But no, that's always the same faces. And I think that there's some kind of illusion that is there's magic behind storytelling and movie making that allows characters to exist on screen for really by themselves as real characters.
I agree, but it's also because excuse me, your stories, you get so lost in the characters. Yeah, you don't realize that they're not changing faces, and you don't realize that there's no communication barrier whatsoever, because your stories are so true to heart. They're just so touching. And you get so lost in it. You don't realize that you're reading the subtitles, and you love the characters so much, and it's funny. You have an incredible sense of humor, and that all comes through. So it's one big amazing package. And yes, you just forget that they're Lego characters whatsoever. It's an amazing experience watching your videos.
Thank you very much. But at the same time, I'm always trying to keep it 100% Lego. I'm not using anything else. I mean, only the backgrounds, the backdrops are usually painted, the sky and everything, and the clouds. But usually it's 100% Lego. I'm not using rocks or trees from. Not Lego trees. It's always 100% Lego, and that was something that I decided during the making of the first film. Okay, let's keep it only Lego, nothing else. It's really heartwarming what you're saying, because all those small choices you make during the making of a film, it makes a difference, and it makes the film exist, or you believe in the characters or not. And it's interesting to see that Henri Edmond, even though those films are quite simple. I'm not the best animator around. I'm not the maybe the stories, they remain quite simple. They are not as crazy, or they are not that crazy. They are a little bit strange sometimes, and I'm surprised that people keep enjoying those characters. And I really hope I can keep that love for those characters with the next one. But there's still a lot of work ahead to make a new one.
So you are planning a new one?
Yes, I'm planning a new one, definitely. I have a lot of other projects before, because I'm planning to create another animated film, but without Lego characters. I'm working with a guy, Patrice Zeiler. He made three wonderful books. These are books about a character that he's made of how do you say that? Rubbish.
Like.
Oh right, garbage and recycled material.
Yeah, that's it. He made those books about the characters made of garbage. But they look really beautiful. They look like animated films characters. They are really beautiful. And when I met him, I told him, you know that your books are so inspiring, for animation. And he told me, I so much like to see those books translated into animated films. So that now we're working on that project. We are. We have a producer behind us that is here to help, and it's the first time. It's the first big project for me, first big professional short film that I'm making, and it's a great experience, and I think it will be ready by the end of the year. And I have a few advertisements to make with Legos in between, and when all that is finished, I think early 2019. I'll start the new Henri and Edmond film. I already have a screenplay that I think is quite good. It needs to be refined a lot right now, but I think I have the story for the next one, with all the all the characters, and I have the movie already in my mind, because when I'm writing and months before filming, I already have all the sequences in my head. Right now, I just need to refine the dialogues, and the writing is already. It's good, but maybe it needs some. It needs to be polished. Right now, it's far from perfect, and I think I have like 10 months now to refine it, to polish it, and I will spend as much time because. Maybe you know that you're doing stop motion and brick films as well, and you need, especially when you are working on a very long project, you need to be convinced about what you are doing. You can't work 3 months or more. I mean, like here for this project, it's gonna be, I don't know, 10 months, 11 months of animation. I have to be convinced by what I'm doing, so that I need to find the characters funny and lovely and everything, in order to maintain my motivation all along the production process. Otherwise, it's the project will die before it's finished, and I don't want that. I really want to make the project from start to end, being convinced about what I'm doing. And for that, it's only the writing, the story that makes, for me, that's what makes the difference. That's really what makes the difference. And I'm always trying to polish the screenplay as much as possible in order to be proud of the story and to maintain that motivation all along.
Well, that definitely comes through in all of your work, so you don't have to worry about that.
Now I'm looking forward to something in 2019. Woohoo!
And what you were speaking of before the book, that was The Secret of Monsieur and I apologize for my French. I can only try.
That sounds good. I think it was pretty Le Secret de Monsieur Nostoc in French.
And you already met your goal of $10,000, which is wonderful. It was funded to do that project.
Yep, yeah, it was a great adventure. I must say that when we were doing the crowdfunding project, I had a lot of work at the same time, and Patrice, who is the creator of Monsieur Nostoc, he was the one in charge of doing the crowdfunding, and I know he was really worried, and it was a really stressful experience for him. I kept telling him, don't worry, I'm pretty sure that it will do fine. We will make it, no problem. This project will exist. And he was really afraid. And when the crowdfunding was finished and that we had everything approved and we were really happy, the day after, a producer that Patrice met many years ago called him. Oh, I've seen you're finally, eventually making a film out of one of your books, and I'd really like to be here and to help. Maybe trying to find more money and help you with the production process and everything, helping you find the right people to make it, and do it the way you want to do it. I'll be here to help and give advice, and it's just crazy, for me it's a wonderful opportunity, and I just hope that if everything goes well, but I'm pretty sure everything will go well, and even better than just well, I will use all that experience in my next Henri Edmond film, because it's strange, because I have some professional opportunities right now, and at the same time I'm really dying to because I so much want to make another Henri Edmond right now, because it's it's where everything started for me in animation, and I really want to keep doing those, even if it's starting to be a little bit difficult. Maybe you have a family, you have to spend time, you have a social life and your job. I mean, for me right now, there are all that the work that is more and more I'm asked to do more and more, and at the same time I really want to do my own personal project and just to have fun again, the same way I have fun every time I'm working on those projects on the Henri and Edmond films. I just want to go back to it once more, and as long as I can do those films, I really want to keep doing them, because that's I love that kind of creation, and I want to keep making those films.
That's good. I mean, we want you to keep making them. I hope you will do it for many years. And when you have a series like that, they become like your family. They're like your babies. So they're a part of you, and you want to share that. And no, we're excited. We're excited to see more.
Back to the new neighbor. When you were shooting that, you were because I watched your 10-year anniversary video that you recently made, and you mentioned you shot that on a camera and brought the SD card or whatnot downstairs. So you were shooting that blind without any software?
Yeah, I shot the first two Henri and Edmond films blind. I only had the screen of the camera in the beginning of the process, just to make sure, I was shooting everything, like the lights and every light change, and when I was setting my when I was preparing the set with the light and everything, I was just making still pictures, and when I was quite ready. I was putting the SD card in the computer, making sure that on the big screen that it was actually what I wanted, and then I was shooting the movies blind. Yeah.
Yeah, we cringed for you when we heard that. We were like, oh my
I
gosh,
don't
what
I don't
a
know
lot of
how you
work.
did it so well, but you've now switched over to Dragon Frame?
Yes, for Plastic Love, I started working with Dragon Frame, and since this one, I'm still working with the Dragon Frame. But I think the most the craziest one, the craziest project that I had to make with a blind process animation was the copyright, like with the chase and everything. It was really, really difficult. And even myself, I'm wondering, where, how can I say that? I don't know how I did.
Yeah, how did you do that?
Find all the patience to do that way, because now with Dragon Frame you can fix a frame that has a problem. You can go back, you can make sure that everything is right. And back then it was okay. I had a paper when I was noting how many frames for each movement of the characters on screen, and when I remember I got crazy with one shot. And it's usually people, they expect some of the chase sequences, or there was one shot that was absolutely a real pain. It was horrible. It's the shot where the fireman, there's the bad guy, he's screaming at some point, and he looks at the firemen that are waiting in front of the firehouse, and he screams at them, and they just start. One of them is starting to walk, another one is starting to whistle, and there's another one looking around, and it was horrible, really, really a horrible shot to do, because I had to take care of I don't know, four different characters at the same time, and that was crazy, because when you have to make characters walk, for example, it's long. When you have like 4 or 5 characters walking on screen at the same time, it's long. It's horribly long, but you don't really have to worry about, because the walk cycle. This one is at that moment of the cycle, so that I just have to move his leg and his arm, and put him back. Just make sure I put him in the right place. But when you have them move in different ways, each character has his own movement. It was oh my god, really horrible to do, but. At the same time, those are great memories.
Yeah.
I still remember working in some kind of basement. A friend of mine just he was lending me that place, and during winter it was really, really cold, and working at night, you can't stop, because you love what you do, and it's already 11 p.m. and you're still working, but it's cold, and that's a great experience. I don't know if I'd like to do it again. I prefer the comfort of my studio right now, but I think that's the kind of memory you keep of you're alone, working only with yourself, but at the same time it's good memories.
And it also makes you appreciate how you're doing it now, because it's so much easier than when you were doing it.
Yeah, but it's easier, but at the same time, because it's easier, you spend more time. And at some point I was always dreaming, when I was starting with the Dragon Frame, I was dreaming like, okay, now a film will only take a few weeks to complete. But no, because actually now that I can control the animation, I know exactly the frame, and I can fix everything if I need. Then my expectations are a bit higher, so that it takes as much time as it took back in the days, but it's just better. And there's the fact that now many people have access to the software means animation is a lot easier right now. That means that there are beautiful animation around, and in the brick film community, there are people doing beautiful animation. So that sometimes I'm wondering, did I have more pleasure back then because a simpler animation was already magic, or is it better now that we have the technology allows it to be better, but is there still the same magic? Sometimes I'm wondering if what is the best, between the less technology but more magic, or a little bit less magic but smoother animation and more beautiful movements. And I'm wondering sometimes what is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your magic still comes through either way, so
Either
I
way.
guess that it doesn't matter.
Now, back on the first one, New Neighbor. Did you record your audio VOs after the animation?
For the first one, yes, we had I don't know, in French we say une voix témoin, like a witness voice. I don't know if it means something in English. Like we had a temporary voice.
Okay, I do that.
Animation.
I do that myself. So you had a temporary one, and then you added the real voices later on.
Placeholders.
Yeah, that's what we were doing for the first one. I made some of the characters' voice myself, and then we had the voice actors that came in and they recorded their dialogues on top of the pictures when the movie was almost finished. I did the process for the first film was this one because I didn't know that it would be easier doing the opposite way. So that for the new the movies that came after this one, Copyright, Plastic Love, and all the small films I did, I recorded the voice first, so that to let the actors play their characters the way they wanted with their own pace, their own talking pace, and I think it's better because I noticed that very early in the production of Copyright when I recorded Jean-Marie Peixoto, who is doing the voice for Edmond, and he was adding small, how do you say that when the characters laughs a little bit, giggles?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's it? Yeah.
Right.
Edmond is giggling at some point, and actually it's Jean-Marie Peixoto who was giggling, and it was not directly written in the screenplay, but he added something, and it was really fun to add this into the animation. And then I changed that process. I recorded all the voice first, and then I was doing the animation. But yeah, the New Neighbor was the first one, and we were quite inexperienced back in the day, so that we were learning, and yeah, I had to change some of the production aspects that I didn't expect in the beginning to be better during the opposite way. And yeah, I changed a few things and I think it's better that way because the actors can really, really add something to their characters, not trying just to match the exact movement on screen. They can do it whatever. They can do it the way they want, and that's better this way because it adds a lot of heart to the characters.
Well, it definitely does add a lot of heart. And did you have those recorded at a professional recording studio?
We watched your behind the scenes, Henri and Edmond too, behind the scenes, and yeah, the studio looked amazing. You had the professional voicing and everything.
Yes. For Copyright, we had this opportunity because as a but on the side of those films, I was doing my job, and I was doing some documentaries and working sometimes for TV, and I had some contacts working in production agency they had a recording studio, so that we went to the studio to record the most of the dialogues for copyright. But it was quite complicated, because the studio, we could only go to the studio mostly at night or on weekends, and the voice actors were not always available to record on those time schedules. And well, it was the schedule was a bit complicated. So that's for Plastic Love and all the projects that came after this one. I decided to go back to the home studio way of recording, and but with a great sound engineer on the films, we had no real problem. The sound was always really good. But we had this great opportunity on copyright, and I'm really thankful with the studio who allowed me to go there for free and record almost as much time as I wanted, if it was at night or on weekends. It was complicated. So that later I prefer to sometimes directly go to the voice actors' houses, so that we try to find a place with not too much reverb. And in the end, Plastic Love was there were sorry, I'm a little bit missing my
No problem.
I'm going back. Yeah, for Plastic Love, we recorded with the voice actors at their home, so that we were trying to find rooms with no reverb, and it was okay. I think with some work in post-production, we were able to get the best possible with the sound, and I think it was much easier. And as long as those films are not they are not made for TV, and we don't have a real production behind, for me it's much easier and more
probably more comfortable, more convenient for everybody.
That's the word. Yes, it's more convenient for me to go to the actor's house and just talk and try, and we don't have to have a look at the time, because we just take the time we need, and we're not afraid that if we have to meet on Thursday, we just don't have to think about anything else. We meet on Thursday, and we don't have any other problem. We just do it the way we want to do it.
You definitely seem to have a lot of fun together as well. It looked like a lot of fun, the behind the scenes. It was nice watching all of you laughing and.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what we always put in the in the behind the scenes. But usually, it's a kind of stressful experience. Maybe I'm hiding it in the editing of the behind the scene, but it's really intense, and you want to get the best for the film, so that I'm quite. Sometimes I'm a bit
perfectionist.
Yes, I think that's the word. Yes, I'm a bit perfectionist, and I know that sometimes the actors get a bit tired, so that it's. I don't say it less funny than what you see in the behind the scenes, but maybe it's we are working. We are really working when we recorded the dialogues, and it's sometimes a bit tricky to start again and again the same sentence until we find the small detail that makes the difference, and we don't spend our time laughing, unfortunately.
Well, your voice acting and your actors are definitely a standout in your films. Another standout item is the music,
which is beautiful.
Can you talk about your music process and who partners with you to make your music and your films.
Yeah, well, my main partner for the music is composer Quentin Billard. He has been working on all the Henri and Edmond films. We are still trying to work on a regular basis together. And the new neighbor was an interesting experience because I talked to Quentin about that project, and he was quite interested about doing animation, and he wrote a lot of demos of mock-ups. Like he was quite inspired by the project, and he was sending me music, and what he was writing was really good. And actually the pace of the new neighbor really comes from Quentin's music that I had before the movie was completed. Actually, I had half of the music for the film before I actually started shooting the film. He was writing first. He wrote the main melody, the one that we know, the end credits. Dun, 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 this.
Oh, we know. We were singing it all yesterday.
It's a pretty catchy
very,
tune.
Very catchy.
Sometimes is a bit. Is known on the internet only for that melody. He feels a bit frustrated, but at the same time he likes that, and he's pretty proud of that melody. But he wrote that theme, and let me tell you, in the beginning I was not too sure. Do you think it suits that well? But I haven't started back then, so that probably that Quentin with that theme had a lot of. That theme is important for the films. Even before the films were made, it helped shape the films. And then the music was, the music made the film almost. Then he had to arrange a little bit the music so that they fit exactly to the picture. And it was quite different with the copyright, because first the music was more interwoven with the story, because of the Brick Lady song that the characters download, so that we needed a song. He had to write the music, and at the same time we wanted the song to be featured in the score, so that if you listen carefully, sometimes you can hear the song in the background, but played with that small orchestra. It's not actually a real orchestra. It's Quentin computer sounds. Actually, he had a lot of orchestral sound banks, and he used them in order to make you believe there's an orchestra. And the first demo he made for copyright was the last music you hear in the end credits. That is the Spy Cat theme, with some kind of a strange guitar that he uses at the end, and that and I thought, okay, that's a really interesting theme for a really interesting melody for the film, and it makes wonders with the crazy side of the characters when they are trying to break into the building near the end. Or it was really interesting to have that music when they are a bit when the characters go sneaky. It was really, really funny to have that music. And we decided not to use the main melody too much during the film, or at least we don't use it the way we usually hear it in the credits. We really wanted to have it subtly interwoven in the score. You hear it here and there, but you never really hear it in its full form. It's always just how do you say that?
Raw?
A variation of it.
Yeah, that's mostly variations on the main theme, and then I wanted another theme that was connected to the more than a plastic figure theme from the movie. That is, not only about the film. It's really about you can be more than what you think you are. That's one of the things in the one of the I'd say one of the more of the deeper meaning of the film. And I really wanted a theme for that specific idea. And Quentin wrote a melody that was quite majestic, and you can hear it when first when Henri starts to be a bit desperate because everything seems to be lost when they are in the firehouse and talking together with really friendly talk with Edmond, and that melody just appears for the first time in a really gentle way, and later in the film during the chase and near the end when they discover that actually Henri is the right owner. Sorry, I didn't give the spoiler alert. But the theme, this one is really a really touching theme. It was really important for me, and then we have the bad guy theme, and it's interesting because Quentin had a collaboration with an American artist named Ben Briggs, who he arranged the theme that was originally written by Quentin. He made it into a huge, massive electronic music when the bad guy arrives. It was a really funny idea to have the bad guy, when he arrives and with heavy music, and it gives the character something cool and threatening at the same time. For Plastic Love, we decided to go back to basic. We wanted the soundtrack to rely a little bit more on the main melody, and to have a really specific sound, so that we asked this band called Rose Babylon, which is a French band that they live not too far from me, and I met them some years ago, and they had a really interesting sound, and I thought, okay, since Plastic Love is some kind of love story, I wanted to have a more love-oriented kind of soundtrack, so that we had a soundtrack with some kind of accordion. It's not exactly an accordion, but it sounds like it. We have a ukulele, guitar, and so a lot of live piano. And the soundtrack has a really different sound from the previous films, and it was interesting. It was interesting to always go back to what makes an Henri Edmond soundtrack, and how we can make it evolve in order to stay true, and at the same time to have a real personality for each soundtrack and for each film at the same time. The music is really important for each film, and I'm a huge film music lover, and I really love the process of writing film music, and I like that music is not something that you just put at the end of the process on top of the pictures in order to make a sequence a bit more intense. For me, there's a real will to build the soundtrack at the same time as we build the film, so that Quentin usually writes mock-ups of music really early in the process, and it helps me getting inspiration while I'm writing, and it will be the same for the next Henri and Edmond, for the next film, because I have every time people ask me about that film, I always say that there will be a big last sequence, a really huge last sequence, and it will be based on music, so that I need Quentin to write the music for that sequence before it actually exists, and then we will tweak some details, on the music so that it fits perfectly the picture. But there are a lot of sequences in those films that were where the music existed before the picture, and in order to get a pace for the sequences, and when the pace is ready, we adjust the music so that it fits perfectly to the pictures. But I love working with composers, especially with Quentin, because he's great and he's always full of surprises. He always adds something deep and powerful to the films. And I like the fact that he is not only, the guy you ask at the end of the process in order to add a little bit of something, but really to be part of the process from the beginning.
And that definitely comes through. I mean, you're lucky that you get to do that, because the music for your videos is always spot on, and it adds so much to it. I wish, not everyone else is lucky enough to have that, so it's very special, and like I said, makes your videos that much more wonderful and enjoyable to watch. We'll go back to copyright, because there's so many. It's, what is that, 30 minutes? About 30 minutes long.
Some minutes, yeah.
But after watching it, it felt like it was like 5 minutes. It just went by so fast. It was so brilliant. There's so many wonderful aspects. The sunset. Let's talk about the sunset. Beautiful. I mean, just the lighting and view from a technical.
Mm-hmm.
It was gorgeous. It was just absolutely beautiful. A beautiful scene.
And I've seen a name written down on a few websites. Is Lillian or
Lillian Ginet? Yeah.
And that is basically your sidekick partner that helps a lot with you.
Yeah, that's it. Lillian is one of my best friends. He actually doesn't live near where I live. I'm at the northeast of France, and he lives in the southwest. So that it's sometimes pretty tricky to work together. But we usually we try to work together and to help each other on each other's projects. We'll call him my sidekick. I think we both our own sidekicks. He's not a secondary character. He's really one of the main characters in my world and production. And when I can help him, I do it, and he helps him every time he can. And Lillian is the director of photography on most of my films, but he can't be there during all the production. So that when I have some sequences that would need him, we're trying to plan some. He's planning trips to the northeast of France so that he can give a help on the Henri Edmond films. And the sunset was he created the visuals for the sunset. I had a friend who let us borrow some kind of a vineyard set in Lego. So that's what we used for the sunset. We have it's vineyard. We don't really see it's vineyard, but there's actually some kind of a valley in front of Henri Edmond, and we see a lot of green things. But with Lillian, we spent almost one day preparing everything. I was installing the set with all the green thing in Lego, putting the fire truck with the characters, and Lillian had, I don't know, I think 50 attempts at making the sunset look good. And I think that's one of the few sequences where you put more time into preparing the set than actually shooting something.
Right.
And yes, it was a really beautiful sequence. I was really happy with the result, because then with the sound engineer Franck Rivolet, who worked on copyright in Plastic Love, we worked together on the sound, so that you believe that you're actually in the middle of some kind of valley or fields, or it was something really important. I remember back in the days I was going outside with my audio recorder, going in the forest or in the fields behind my house, and spending time, sometimes full afternoons recording sounds for the film. And then Frank was trying to clean the sounds I had recorded, because there was many sounds of insects and everything. We wanted to get rid of them, just in order to have the birds and the crickets and everything, and some bells. I think that we can hear some bells during that sequence, like there's a small village next to that set, and there's a church that with bells ringing, and we were trying to really to have to be true to the kind of landscape we have here in the northeast of France, in Alsace. That's my region, the place I'm living. It's called Alsace, and there are sounds and landscapes, and I was trying to recreate that in the film. And I think both the sound and the visuals really helped making something that was, I wouldn't say believable, but it's interesting, because from an artistic point of view, from the visual point of view, it was a challenge for us. But at the same time, it looks like something that actually really exists. And Lillian was there for a few other sequences. It really helped me on all the last sequence in the bad guys' headquarters, when they are when Henri Edmond are waiting on this chair to discover what their fate is. Lillian made the light. It was quite incredible. It felt like if we were in a submarine or something. He did a really great job with that sequence, and he worked a lot on the restaurant sequence from Plastic Love, and he gave me a lot of tricks in order to make my last sequence under the tree at the end, when what's her name, when Brigitte is threatening Henri Edmond with her axe. At the end,
Right.
Lillian gave me a lot of tricks in order to make it look good. He's doing some voice acting as well. He was doing Vladimir, the voice of Vladimir in the first film, and he was back as Dominique, the how do you say that, the henchman from the big bad guy.
Okay.
And he did that really strange guy that Henri has a date in Plastic Love in a park, but the woman is supposed to
creepy
have a
guy.
date with.
He was
with another
the creepy guy.
and it's Lillian doing his voice, and he made the strangest voice ever, and we kept that recording because we were crazy with that recording, because it made you feel that this guy on the bench is such a weirdo you don't want to talk with, and he made it completely crazy with his voice, and we keep that. It's perfect.
It matched the minifigure's face.
Yeah, exactly. But back in the day, we didn't have that face. We didn't know it would be the face of the character. So that when I found the face, I said, okay, that's perfect with Lillian voice. That's the strangest character ever. That's exactly what I wanted. But yeah, Lillian is multi-talented, and it's great to have people like him in the team, because they help the projects. Just it helps the ambition of the projects, because he brings something crazy to those films.
When on that, back to him on that creepy character that he did on the bench, I screamed at that scene when he threw down the flowers and he let her go off with that creepy guy. I was like, no, don't let her go off with him.
Yeah, but he's a bit fragile. He doesn't really fight his fate. He just he accepts things as they are, and it's part of the character. But at the same time, I liked to make him. There's something that happens during copyright because Henri is. Edmond is the adventure guy, is the one that is crazy and there's no limit to when he wants to do something, he does it. But Henri is the opposite. It's really about, he likes to be at home, listening to his music, and he doesn't love adventure. He's a bit like like Bilbo the Hobbit, he likes his own and doesn't want to go out, and his best friend is always there to shake him a little bit, to make him go out and fight the world, and it's interesting to make the characters, sometimes we go back to what they are, and sometimes we make them evolve to something else to show that they have different faces. It's like real people. They are not just afraid of the same thing all their life. They evolve, and it's the same for Henri because he evolves in copyright, goes a little bit back in plastic love, but at the same time, he's not the same as he was in the first film, and it's interesting to make the characters evolve in many directions.
That's great. One of the things I've noticed, a lot of brick filmers will just pretty much overlight their set, but you're really particular and careful about lighting your set. But it seems like you work in an extremely dark room when you're animating. Does that sound right?
Yeah, usually I'm really trying to close every window, or not window, but really trying to have the less light from the outside, and I'm working only with the light from the sets. Usually they are not really strong lights, and then I have to have a longer exposure when shooting, and I'm usually working in the dark.
Yeah, so sometimes I will overlight my set, and then sometimes I will be real careful about lighting my set, and I know it gets real dark when you're being particular with your lighting, and kind of gets depressing being in that dark of a room.
Yeah, and there's a strange effect about the light on your mind, because sometimes I don't, when animating, I don't know what time it is. And I remember while doing Plastic Love, I was doing that park sequence, and I spent an evening shooting some of the shots for that sequence. And in order to feel like I was in the sequence myself, in order to, I don't know, to give my best, I don't know, I put the sound of a park. I mean, birds and people talking in the background. And I had, instead of music, I had the sound of the park. I know it's pretty strange.
No, I get it.
But it was, I don't know, 10 in the evening, and I couldn't see the light from the outside, because and I worked all the afternoon and a big part of my evening, and suddenly I had my one of my shots finished, and I stopped the sound, and actually I was believing I was in the middle of the afternoon, like 3 p.m. And actually no, it was 10 p.m. It was dark outside. It was during winter, and I felt like it was a springtime wind in the afternoon. It was really strange, because the sound and the fact of being visually in a sequence that is outside on the daytime and with a sunny weather was really strange to go back to reality. And I don't know if you feel the same sometimes, but working on sequence makes you almost feel like you're out of time. The time is not linear when it slows down while you are working.
And you get lost in your own sets.
Exactly, and sometimes it feels like I worked for 45 minutes, and when I go back to a reality, no, actually, actually, we are 4 hours later, and it's 3 in the morning. It's something really strange that happens sometimes, and I like that. But I'd say I like that feeling after the 4 hours of work. I hate the idea that when I start a shot, I will still be working on it 4 hours later, and sometimes it prevents me from animating. I'm a bit afraid of this state. It's a bit weird. Every time I'm going into that state, and sometimes I just don't want, so that I'm procrastinating. Like I'm okay. I'll do that later. Yeah, it's a bit strange to go into that state, because the time is not the same when we are working on animation, and it's a bit frightening to know that once you start, you don't know exactly when you finish, but you know that you have to finish, because usually, I don't know your process, but with my process, I really can't stop one shot in the evening and continue it the day after. If I'm working on a shot, I have to complete it in a row. I just can't stop in the middle and start the day after. I can make another shot the day after, but I can't complete the same shot, because my camera probably will move a little bit during night, because it's not 100% steady, and or maybe the lights will have moved a little bit, because gravity, or I don't know, but things will move a little bit, so that I can't stop. And if I start, I have to go straight to the end. There's no break, no pause allowed.
Right. I understand. Yeah, I did a 50-second long shot that took me 10 hours to do, and yeah, you just had to just keep going, go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
There's a shot in Copyright where the fire truck hits the yellow car.
That poor guy.
The freckle guy. I think you play him, right?
Sorry?
When the fire truck hits the yellow car, was that stop motion, or did you do that in real time?
No, it's stop motion, but in the beginning I filmed the action, so that I know how a car will. I wanted to understand the physics of the impact, so that I filmed it, and then I made it again, but in stop motion. I tried to recreate the physics of the impact.
Oh, wow. So the only time you had real time or a video was what I think some paint or something was spilled on a character at one point in one of the films?
No,
nail polish, maybe?
Oh,
fell off the table.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. The only time was quite recently. I worked on an advertisement for French car company Renault.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, how do you call that? Vernis? I think you said the word.
It's live action. Just like regular video. Real time.
Well, no, that's not what I meant. But I mean, there was a liquid I put on the character, but I never used that in the Henri Edmond films.
Okay, it was
that was the other.
I was getting confused. My apologies.
But the fire truck, I can't believe that.
Wow, that was stop motion. That is amazing.
Yeah, I don't think I used any video in any films.
Okay.
Only the very recent one, where the people I worked for asked for liquid at some point, and I said, okay, we'll try to combine stop motion animation with some video shots, and it worked quite well. I was a bit afraid that it wouldn't work, but it was okay. No, for copyright, the truck accident was really everything was stop motion, and the rain in Plastic Love is stop motion as well. It's a bit tricky to do, but I'm quite happy with the end result. Sometimes you're afraid, and sometimes I want to do things, and I make first try, and usually it's not that good. So that I'm changing the original idea in order to make it in a way that is okay, that is visually nice with a, I wouldn't say realistic, but a good animation. But apart from that advertisement for Renault, recently I never used video shots in my films.
Well, you blended them quite well.
The rain effect in Plastic Love was beautiful and very realistic. That was incredible.
Yeah, thank you. It was strange to do, because it's that's something that I really like when doing stop motion. It's to go in an experimental way, trying new things. You're not sure what it will look like, but you try them, for the sake of trying. And I if it was not good, it would not be in the film, so that there would be no rain in the film, or I would put the character somewhere else and you would just hear the rain but you wouldn't see it. But I tried, it was quite nice, and I said, okay, let's keep it. But it was really long to do. It was horribly long, but you know that every small detail, if you want to do it the best way possible, it always takes time. And those raindrops on the window, I don't know, the shot is really simple. There's a character that is almost not moving at all, is just there standing and watching outside. Then maybe there's just his head moving a little bit, but the raindrops, the time it needs to put them in the right place and to make them move a little bit and add a little bit more on each shot, and waiting for them to move to move down on the window. It was horribly long. But you while you are doing it, that okay, now it's 4 hours, 5 hours of work. I would prefer to have a cocktail outside under the sun, but maybe that in the next 10 years we will still be talking about it. I will still have that sequence to show to the audience and to share it with people, and that's what makes it really worthy, because we spend so much time on those films, but at the same time, when the films are finished, they exist, and you can share the experience with other people, and that's what makes us do those films and spend so much time in the dark. I think that's another magic in stop motion. We are making illusions. We are illusionists, and it's hard work. It's pretty. Sometimes it's not a funny work, because it's a lot of time. Pretty painful. Pretty. It's both painful in your mind and physically painful. Sometimes it hurts. It hurts my I don't know, my shoulder and my arm and you feel physically tired of animating.
Right.
Oh,
but
do you animate sitting down or standing up?
Sorry?
Do you animate sitting down or standing up?
That depends on the sequence.
Okay.
That really depends on the sequence. Usually I'm trying to stand up and to put my desk high enough in order not to bend over the set. But sometimes, like that advertisement I was talking about a few minutes ago, it was not filmed in a studio. I had to go in this place that is some kind of a...
It's a car dealership, right?
Sorry?
Was it a car dealership? They sell Renault cars?
Yes.
So you animated on the floor?
Yeah, sometimes I had no choice. I was in some kind of a showroom, and I had to sit down and to there's that shot where all the characters are running into the showroom, and they are running on the ground, and it's a pretty wide shot. It's not close shot. It's really wide shot, and I had to go. I didn't have a table or something, so that I had to sit on the ground with my computer on the ground as well. I had to make sure that each shot was okay. Then I had to stand to go next to the computer, to move each character, almost lying down on the ground for each character, going back to the computer. Okay, this character has just fallen, so that I have to go back to put it in his place. Go back to the computer. Okay, one picture, and it was something like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes for each frame. And you spend so much time doing something that lasts 1 second and a half. It's crazy. Sometimes it's really crazy, but I think there's something magic behind that makes it worthy of doing.
How long did it take you to complete that for them?
The car
the
company?
car. Mm-hmm.
I went there. It was in Paris. I went there 2 times. The first time was 4 days, and the second time was 3 days. Yeah, 7 days. But during the day, they have people there. People come to visit and to discover the cars and everything. So that I could only work at night. They close the doors at 11 p.m. at night.
Wow.
And they reopen in the morning at 10. We worked together with Lillian as well, once more, on that project, so that we worked only at night. And let me tell you that animating a Lego car, how do you say that when the car just slides on the side?
Drifting?
Yeah, drifting. Just try to animate a car drifting properly. The morning when it's 7:30, you haven't slept for the last 2 days, and you have to animate a car drifting on the ground, of course, on the wide shot, so that you have to walk from the computer to the car to move it, and not walk near it, or otherwise you put dust and everything. Honestly, I don't know how I survived this one.
Well, it came out beautiful.
The result was magnificent, and they must have been thrilled with the end result.
I don't know. It's in the very beginning, they wanted. They didn't know exactly what they wanted. It seemed they wanted computer-generated animation, CGI, and when they asked me, "Oh, you're doing Lego animation?" Yeah, I'm doing Lego animation, but with real figures. Okay. Then they told me, "Oh, could you do a shot where the characters play with the camera and they throw the camera in the air?" No, I can't do that. No, that's not possible. But I can submit a few other ideas, and they were quite happy with the result. I think they were really happy, but I don't think when you see the end result, you don't know what it is to do it, and in French we say tant mieux. That's okay. It's even better when people don't know, but I don't. People, they see the result. They see people are used with the TV and cinema. They are used to see characters moving on the screen, and they don't know what it is to do that, to create it with real figures. And I don't know if it's like, okay, it's funny, it's good, and now it's on to the next project. But I'm happy that they seem to be happy. I was happy with the results, even though I would have liked to have a little bit more time to do it. because it was really short schedule to make that project, especially working at night and everything. But it was a nice experience for me. Another painful experience. Really,
Yeah,
painful but lovely.
Very painful, yeah. But it was definitely, we definitely enjoyed it, and we appreciated all the hard work you put into that. Painful.
There's a cute little short that you just look like you had fun with it on your channel called Lego Hugo. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it's that minifigure was what, about 1.5 meters? Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think it's 1.20 m.
Okay, a little bit shorter. All right, but it's pretty tall.
It was made entirely by an artist who's creating figures in metal. I don't know if it's iron or something like that, but he's creating that and he's shaping those characters, and he tried to be as true to what a Lego figure is in order to it's actually the exact same size for everything, but just I don't know how many times bigger, but he had that. I was in a Lego exhibition. I was screening my films, and he was there, and he had just this character, which was crazy, you know. And at some point, I told him, I asked him, do you think we can animate it? That character actually can move like a Lego figure? And yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same as a Lego figure. You can make it stand and move the exact same way. But okay, then maybe we can do something. And with Bruno Lefebvre is a French brick filmer.
Also very talented.
His nickname is Aiwa.
Aiwa. Yes, he actually has judged our Brick Filmers Guild film festival twice in the past. So we love him.
Yeah, and with the Aiwa, we decided we would animate it because we wanted to be not just one single guy animating, because we didn't want it to fall or anything. We didn't want it the big figure to fall, and it was quite an experiment because we were animating it in front of the audience of the exhibition. People were not necessarily coming to watch the figure, but they were around. There were, I don't remember, paintings or photographs and people building things around, and we were in the middle of the crowd. So some people stopped there to watch what we were doing, and others were just passing by. And we animated it in the middle of the crowd for, I don't know, maybe 1 hour. It was that's the kind of project that doesn't exist half a day before. It's just an idea, and we do it. We just make the character move and say hello, and that was finished. But it was another challenge. Like, okay, I know how to make a Lego figure walk. What can I do with a Lego figure that is 1.20 m high and that is almost as heavy as I am? How can I animate it? And it was crazy. It was funny to do. Not my best film, of course.
It was fun though, and it was really cute.
It was unique to see such a large minifigure being animated, and I really liked it.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I liked the fact that for once you see the time it takes, because you see the people around moving and being blurry, because I decided to have a long exposure, so that first we can't see who the people who the people in the crowd are, you know, because of the problems you can have if you show people on the internet and they don't want to appear in the video, so that the people would be blurry. And at the same time, you understand that it took us 1 hour to produce, I don't know, maybe not even 10 seconds, but you see that when you're working in animation, you're working on another kind of time scale. It's something different, and I thought it was interesting to have both at the same time on the picture.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very cool to watch.
You've done a little non brick filming Lego stuff, something called Frez or Freeze, a web series.
Yeah, Freeze. Yep.
And this was, I guess, about items in the refrigerator talking.
That's it. That's food talking, exactly. Freeze is a strange idea we had with Lillian. Actually, when I was on a trip, I remember many years ago I met a director from a production agency, and he told me, "Oh yeah, stop motion. Oh, you're doing stop motion animation. No, animation is great, but the problem with animation, it takes so much time to produce. You should try to find a way to produce content, but in a faster way, because doing stop motion, like he was talking about my films, your films, it takes you one year film for 20 minutes. You're crazy. No, you should make things faster. Yeah, okay, but how can I make things faster? And this idea of how can I produce stop motion faster, I had that in my mind. And during a trip, I was in front of a fridge at some point, and I thought, oh, maybe we could make something with only one set, and only I'd like to find an idea. We don't have to change set every 3 shots, and the lights we don't have to change the light and everything else. Oh, a fridge could be a good idea. And I submitted this idea to Lillian, who wanted not to make always photography for my films, but he wanted to make a project together. Like we could have fun together making our own project, but that we would build together, not just one asking the other to help. So that this idea of making something in the fridge came to my mind. I submitted the idea to Lillian. He was quite happy with that, and he thought, okay, if we make something in the fridge, let's not go the usual way. What most people would do would be to tell stories about the food in the fridge, and to only talk about about food. How do you say that? But the problems of food's everyday life. And we thought, okay, let's go in a bit funnier way. Let's imagine our strangest, craziest, stupidest ideas we can have sometimes spontaneously, because we talk and we imagine. Do you imagine if we could read our minds, each other? What would we do? And that would be a good screenplay for Freeze. And every crazy idea ends up in Freeze.
How did you do the? Oh, sorry.
It's just the place. Freeze is the place where we put all the crazy ideas, and we try to produce them as fast as possible.
That sounds like fun to me.
Yeah. How did you do the mouth movement? Was that post, or did you do that with by putting them actually on the fruit?
Well, actually, we have the mouse printed, the different ones. We record the dialogues first, and then when I'm doing the animation, I have to replace the mouse. I'm not that much into post-production. I like to, if I can make it during shooting, I do it. Now I accept one thing with of post-production is to remove rigs on figures if I want a character to jump or to fall or something to stand in the air. I accept now. I didn't do that in the past, but now, okay, I use rigs to keep the character standing in a specific position, and then I remove the rigs in post-production. That's all. But for all those kind of animation, the mouse animation, characters talking and everything, I'm trying to do all that during shooting, because it allows us to produce as fast as possible, because that's the idea with Freeze. it's not meant to be art. It's not meant to be the best animation ever. It's just meant to be the crazy series we make together with Lillian, and we just hope that people will accept our craziness and watch it with pleasure. And if they don't like it, no problem. We keep doing it anyway.
Well, we will definitely watch with pleasure everything that you make. Absolutely.
Thanks. But there are only 5 episodes of Freeze right now. Because we are far from each other with Lillian, we don't work. We'd like to make more, but as we really want to produce them together, to be there at the same time, he's doing the light and creating the mouse for the animation, and at the same time I'm doing the animation. We try to do everything together. Even if he's not doing the animation, he has something to say about my animation, and even if I'm not creating the mouse for the characters, or I'm not doing the light, or I'm not doing the setup for the backdrops and everything, I have a word to say, and we're really trying to have the closest creative relationship as possible when we are working on Freeze, even if it's not a real artistic project. It's a project for fun, and if we can share the fun with other people, it's even better.
Excellent.
I agree.
Excellent. This last year, you created Sheep, the brick film, which is it's very unique. It's award winning. I believe it went to Cinebrick 2017 and won. Is that correct?
So I'm not sure, but I'm not sure I understand. Yeah. It was
in Portugal. Did you
Cinebrick,
the brick film festival in Portugal?
Oh, yeah. The film went to Cinebrick and they earned the first prize, to my great surprise, because Sheep is another project. Like, in the beginning, I would say it was a secondary project. Like, okay, let's try to do some animation again, something different, but with Lego again, and let's try just to make a short film, because I was a bit fed up of making sometimes just small advertisement, or I wanted to go back to something fun, and because for a long time, Henri Edmond films were always longer and longer, and 20 minutes a film was too long for me, and I just wanted to make something cute and that could go as fast as possible, something quick, just a small production for fun. And I discovered there's a brick artist, a French brick artist whose name is Clou, who created those sheep. And I told him, oh wow, they are so great. I think those characters deserve to have their own brick film, and I'd love to make something with them. And yes, I made this small film, and it was not even finished. That the people at Cinebrick told me, "Oh, you're doing a new brick film. Could you send it to us if it's finished on time for the festival?" So that I sent them, just thinking, okay, that's first screening, good. I have absolutely no expectation for that film, and I was surprised that the film earned the first prize, because for me, it's in my mind, it's a small project for fun, and it was really quickly written. The screenplay for me is really simple, and maybe that going into a simple writing sometimes can be quite efficient, but I didn't expect Sheep to have to get people interest. But it's surprising. Actually, people seem to enjoy it.
It was wonderful. In fact, my daughter and I, we really love anything that's cute. So as soon as you see that sheep, we're like, oh my God, I want that. No, it's adorable the way it eats. And it's amazing that a video that doesn't have any talking speaks volumes. You don't have to have talking when it is so well done like that. So it was really beautifully done. I enjoyed it so much. No surprise at all that it won at Cinebrick. Well done.
Yeah, I think it even inspired a lot of the Bricks in Motion THAC 15 entries. I think there were 3 or 4 that used similar puppets with the the eyes and
They're so cute.
I think you definitely it made a trend.
Yeah, but I was a bit afraid when I finished animation because it took a lot of time to put the sound on it because I didn't find the right balance, because actually the sound seems quite simple, but in order to find the balance between the background ambience and the music and the way the character, the character, he doesn't talk, but he still makes some noises when he changes his expression and everything. It was a bit tricky to find the right balance, and it took actually I spent much more time than expected on Sheep, and yes, I'm quite happy that people enjoy it. But in the beginning, for me, it was really it felt like a doomed project because I had many other things to do at the same time, so that it was postponed. I think you say that.
Right.
The production was always. I had to make everything later than expected, and it took me almost a year between the moment I started and the moment it was finished. It was overly long because I didn't know how to decide. It was really new for me to animate those. With Freeze, I learned how to animate expressions and emotions on the face of characters, but I had never done that with Lego figures, and it was a bit different because there are not that much different eyes for the character, and I had only one head. But sometimes I wanted to change, like when he's. Sometimes he has his mouth open, and sometimes he's blowing some air on the hat, and it was strange because everything seemed to take forever to create. When I'm doing regular brick film with figures, I almost don't have to think about it. Just put the characters in front of the camera, and I know what to do with them. But I felt like it was the first time I was animating something when I started with Sheep. And it was pretty disturbing for me. But slowly I gained some confidence doing it. But it was a really, really long process. Really long.
Wow. Well, like I said, the result was incredible, and I loved it so much.
So,
Thanks. I'm happy that people enjoy it because for me it was really like a doomed project. Like, okay, I will show it to people, but people will tell me, you're losing your magic, Like, okay, anyway. But now it was a small project, and I'm really happy that people actually they enjoy it.
It was adorable, and it had so much feeling, and you felt for the sheep. I loved him. I want him.
maybe I'll try to make one for you.
Yeah.
I can send you the how do you call that? The
instructions.
The paper how to build a Lego sheep.
I'll take
Okay,
it.
we'll take
Please.
it. And I understand you teach some stop motion classes. Is that correct?
I take, or I'm no, actually I'm giving stop motion classes.
You teach. You're right.
Yeah, I teach some stop motion classes. I learned everything by myself and watching other videos, so that it's always strange when I'm asked to teach stop motion because it for me it's I've never been to animation school or anything. I've been to video school, so that I know how to make a documentary and a film. I know how to write and everything, but animation was, it's a long learning process, and I think you see that in The New Neighbor. If you watch the early sequences in the film, and because I shot the film more or less in the chronological order, you see that the animation in the beginning is not that good, and it starts to be okay near the end. But for me, it's really die and retry process. Yeah, okay, animation is not good. I start again, and now okay, I have to do this that way, and maybe I'm moving the arms too fast, and I'm learning. And now to to share that those 10 years of experience is something really interesting, because kids now they go so fast, they learn so fast. Animation is always surprising for me, because I think, okay, there are a lot of good animators that are maybe too young right now, but they are already really good. They are 10 years old or sometimes less, and they are already they are good. They are doing good stuff, and I just can't imagine what they will be able to produce within 5 or 10 years. It's impressive, and it's interesting, because what I like to share is I see in those the young people's eyes the magic of seeing the characters move on screen, because I think at some point I lose a little bit of the magic because I'm used to it, and seeing that in other people's eyes is it reminds me that there's something that we are illusionists, and that what we are doing is magical in a way, and I had that magic in the beginning. I was, every time I was doing one shot, I could watch it like 30 times in a row. First, because I wanted to make sure there was no problem in the animation, but at the same time, it was so magic to see the characters move on screen, and to see the same reaction with kids now, and not only kids, there are teenagers, and sometimes there are people that are almost my age coming to discover animation. Sometimes the parents as well, they are surprised in a positive way by what we can create with animation, and it's good to see that people keep seeing the magic behind animation, even though now with the films and the Lego Batman and the Lego movie and everything, people tend to forget that there are people that are actually making those figures move for real, because I think those films are CGI, and maybe people that are watching brick films on the internet might think it's CGI as well. And every time you show the process, people are always amazed, and it's good to see that in people's eyes. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, a lot of people have no idea how much time it takes to do the stop motion animation.
Yeah.
So you worked on a collaboration this last year with a bunch of folks from Bric-a-Brac. It was a brawl entry. I guess that was at a festival, Brick Festival or something like that. Got to work with a whole bunch of folks that we love. Iwa, France and Alex, Maxime Baconis. I don't know, I think he's a Bric-a-Brac's administrator. Skrins and Legolander, who goes by Silent Frames now. And anything interesting about that project?
Iowa came with a full set ready, and they were, I think, when I joined them on the exhibition, they had already started, so that they were during the exhibition there was it was a Lego exhibition called Fanabric in France, 10 kilometers from where I live, so that I know the exhibition really well. It's pretty well known in France. And all the people were there, and they were showing stop motion animation on different. They had like 3 different sets with cameras and everything, and people could come and just have a look at how you make animation. And there was one set that was dedicated to this project. And they had already started and told me, "Oh, Maxime, would you accept to animate some of the shots?" Yeah, okay, could be great fun. And I think we spent a bit more time than expected, because there was one evening we worked together almost really late, in order to have the film completed on time. And I worked on a few shots for that film. Don't remember exactly which ones, but when I think there's one character cooking at some point, and preparing the dishes for meal with his friend, and I made a few shots, and it was funny to discover how a disconnected production, because people were doing the animation with their own pace. We're not working the same way, and the animation is not exactly the same, but the project comes together in a funny way. But I think the best moment, really the best moment, is when the character gets crazy because he eats the space food.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
He gets he's on drug, and he gets crazy, and he thinks he sees the other side of the brick figure's life, and we had different shots of the exhibition with different sets and everything. And I told them, well, guys, there's something missing right now, because we have the character screaming and everything, but we never see his face. And I thought, okay, we should see his face. And we were thinking, what could we do? Just like, is he watching around? Or no? Okay, guys, we won't animate that. We will just make something crazy that shows that is in another dimension. He's not in he's not in the normal world. So that we put the character on the table, and we had something like a desk lamp or something, and we started to move the lamp frantically, really nervous movements, and so that there's light on his face that comes and that appears and disappears really fast. And we thought, okay, that's funny, but there's something missing. And we should add something like an earthquake. We see his face, but it should be shaky. Like the character is getting crazy, and the camera is shaking. And we're thinking, okay, what could we do? Because if we are shaking the camera, it doesn't look good. We don't want to add any special effect. And then we were 3 big guys, one with the desk lamp, two guys with the desk lamps moving really fast the lamps on the character's face, and another one was shaking the table. And I think somewhere there must be a behind the scene of that shot where we are doing completely crazy things, but in the end we have just that shot of the character that is like breathing really, really intense shot of the character. You see the fear on his face, and with the light going every on his face, really fast in every way, and it's shaking. And we people asked, how did you animate that? Well, actually, it was not animated at all. We were just doing crazy stuff around one small minifigure, and it was really fun to do. And in the end result, we just used like 2 seconds of that shot, but at least we see the character's face, we understand why he's screaming and why he's breathing really, 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 really intensely. It was crazy. It was, but it was a great friendship moment, because we usually you have to be really careful, really patient with animation, and we were doing exactly the opposite. It was really funny to do.
We'll have to look for the behind the scenes on that. I'd like to see it. It was a wonderful story. I loved it. I always personally like when you incorporate real people with the Lego figures. I always think it's a really neat effect. So I enjoyed that very much.
I think it was Iwa's idea. I think he wrote the story, and he was really prepared. I arrived, like not knowing what to expect, and he had the sets ready. He had he made an animatic. We had all the shots ready. We knew exactly where to put the camera. We were just animators, but just for the pleasure of animating and being all together. It doesn't happen really often, to work with other people and just being there together, working on animation and just watching each other work on animation was really, it was really interesting to see the different kind of process of each member, and at the same time these were people that are part of the bric-a-brac community, so that people that you know, that you're sharing ideas with, so that we were all there at the same time, physically, and just having fun together. And it was a great time, really great time.
Yeah, no doubt at all. Even though we've taken up so much of your time, we can't let you go without talking about the Bricks in Motion documentary, which you appeared in, and we watched a lot of your highlights yesterday. And I love so many of the things that you said. Obviously, I love where you live so much. I would actually like to live there myself. It looks like the perfect. It looks like the perfect place to live. The people, like you said, they're honest. It's beautiful. I imagine that's very inspiring, too, with your work. Just to be in such a beautiful village. I like that you said that you try not to have pointless films, and that's exactly what you do. Your films, they all have a point. They all you can relate to the characters so much, and there's always a moral, and there's always humor, and they're just so incredibly written. And you mentioned about the first screening of Plastic Love, and the couple that was sitting in front of you. I'll let you tell that because it was just adorable.
Yeah, it's like great memories. It's a nice place. I regret that when the documentary team came, it was winter and was not the best moment. When you're coming in France, well, in Alsace, in September, October, when you have wonderful colors, and the movie would be even crazier, because the place is really beautiful. They didn't came the best part of the year, they probably came between February and March, and it's okay if you like it at that moment. You would love it during summer or late summer. It's a really beautiful place, and I loved to have them here, to have that team here. I just met them. They were so nice, and I think when I started doing stop motion, I had some talks, not that regularly, but we had great talks with Zach Macias, who it was one of the first brick filmers I met back in the days. I mean, virtually on the internet, and we had so many great talks together. He was such a nice guy, and so he was there. He arrived with the team, and it was strange to have them in France, and we spent time the days after with France et Alex, who are other brick filmers and really good friends of I. They are nice people, and we were all together. It was strange to have brick filmers from the United States. At the same time, we had Golego Studios.
Yes,
Stefan Kröger was there as well, and then a German and some French brick filmers all together. It was an interesting experience because we are people that are really different. We had different kind of different lives. We are, we're not working necessarily in the same areas. Maybe with Steve, with Philip and Zach, it's pretty much the same. But Stefan is doing. He was working at the radio and everything. And I don't know. It was a weird yet really wonderful meeting with them all, and we made them visit a little bit of Strasbourg, of the city center there, and I don't know. We shared a good meal together. I think that there's sometimes I think we should organize a big brick filmers, a big meeting, with people from around the world. That would be so cool, because people are so passionate about their work, and you can, I don't know. I think that's the purpose of the documentary. You understand that there are many other people like you who has the same the same little thing for same emotion when I see animation, and it would be great to try to have all those people have the opportunity to meet and to have a great meal all together.
That would be wonderful, yes, because like you also said, there's like a brotherhood. It's like we're all part of the same community. We all know each other, even though we've never met. We feel like we know you, and you're part of our family, and it's just a wonderful feeling.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I felt when we were all together during the making of the documentary. Well, the making of the documentary was it was a hard task for me because Philip was, really precise. You have to sit and you have to you don't move that much, and it was something special. But I really loved the way they did that film, and I loved the film itself. It was beautiful. I felt so close to the end result. I don't mean not my part, but having all those people, ideas and thoughts about what they do, I felt so close to everyone that, the movie was really true to that small world of Lego animation.
I agree. And I want to have you just talk about the first screening of Plastic Love, what that felt like for you, and when that couple in front of you.
Yeah.
I want you to share that moment, because that was a neat little story.
Yeah, it was near the end of the film, and every time I'm screening my films with an audience, I always feel a bit. I'm a bit. There's pressure, I don't feel that good, because I'm always afraid that there might be a problem or something that we had to restart the film, or I don't know. I'm always afraid that things could go wrong at some point, and at the same time that the people maybe will not get the humor, or that they I don't know, a bit afraid. And it was so heartwarming to see those people just when Henri says, I don't remember exactly the line, especially in English, but basically he says that love is real love is not when you need the other one, but it's just when you want to be with the other one without needing him, because then it's real love. It's not a need. It's your will to be with the other one. And they were just in front of me, and they just had a quick look at each other and smiling and just hugging each other. It was. Wow. Okay. Those people, they know what I tried to say with the film. Yeah, they just gave each other a hug, and I thought, okay, they understand the meaning of the end of that film, and it means that the movie, as the content of the movie it talks to some people, and that's what's important. I remember some guy on YouTube, I think, told me, thank you for the end of the film, because I understand some things about life a little bit better now. I was like, wow, I didn't expect that, but it was really, really touching that people could actually use the film in a positive way, not just watching a film, but have something. Okay, I think there's but those are lessons that usually I'm talking only about things that are important to me, and people you meet in your life, and people that tell you things that makes you think, and sometimes you think, okay, I was told some things that helped me grew up in my life, and if in a way I can share the same message through my films, and that maybe people around the world could just not only enjoy the film, but get richer from in their own life, from that experience, from seeing that film can just keep something of the film that will brighten the day or just make them feel better. I think that's another purpose of making films, and it's important. It's not always easy to have films that have messages. Sometimes it's good also to have funny projects, but I think when you spend so much time on animation, and you need your project, or I need my projects not only to be cool and nice, and that I want to see them finished, but also that maybe the projects carry something that deserve all the hard work we put in them.
Yeah, no, that definitely sets you apart. You're in a different category with your stories and what you put into them, and what we come, what it gives us with the moral and the humor, and it's just the warmth and everything. And the music.
It's more than just a brick film.
Right, it is more than just a brick film. You don't feel like you're watching a brick film. It's a complete package, and it's all wonderful. And we really look forward to seeing everything else that you do.
Thanks. But I have another detail about the screenings. Sometimes there are jokes in my films that most people don't get, because it's really special. Sometimes it's not even a joke, but just one character that says a little something, and most people don't understand it. But sometimes when I'm going on screening my films, and it happens sometimes that there's a joke or something that people don't get, but there's one guy in the room, in the theater, that just laugh, or a little bit, like you understand that there's one guy in the room that got the joke, and it's always I like in French I call that, I don't know if it translates well, but it's the joke that the guy in the back of the room will understand. That's the small joke. I know that most people will not get it, but I know that at least one guy one day will understand it, and it makes the joke worth adding in the film. And I'm always trying to have at least one in my films, and it's always funny because usually there's at least one people during the screenings that get them, and it's pretty good, because I think okay, you and me, we understand each other,
Right. No, it's good.
At the very moment we understand, and I really love that.
It's nice if you can always touch and reach at least one person, but with your videos, you have no idea how many people you touch. And Dave would be the person in the back of the theater that would be laughing at all the jokes too.
Yeah. But there's something frustrating, yes, that we were talking about that. It's really difficult. Maybe I'm not going the right way about promoting my project, but it's really difficult now to reach an audience. I think it was different a few years ago, but I don't know how I missed I missed the start at some point, or I don't know, but it feels like the films could reach more audience, and it's not for the sake of having 60 million views, it's not that, but sometimes when you're creating films, you'd like people to be able to watch it, and for example, we were talking about Freeze. We never really reached our audience because people, they don't know it exists. We are not using pop culture references, like we're not using Star Wars or Lord of the Rings in Freeze or in my brick films, so that it's really difficult to reach an audience right now. And at the same time, I'm not retrying. I should do I should produce one new video every 2 weeks, and each video should be 1.5 minutes long. But that's not my that's not the way I'm thinking about my project. That's not the way I'm thinking about all that. But sometimes I'd like to find a way to share the experience with more people. And I think now the internet has this good side that you can share with the world, but at the same time there's so much content today. I mean, between now and the moment I started my sentence, there are probably 2 million new videos, and it's a bit difficult right now to share your content with the world, because only the people who already know you will go watch your videos.
Well, yeah, that's true, but and that's why we try at least to promote people as much as we can to get them out there more, especially with you and your work that it needs to be seen more.
I thank you for all the hard work you've been doing all those years, because I don't know, you spent so much time trying to first to have people together, and to promote them. But I think you have the same, you meet the same difficulties, the same problems as we are all encountering right now, because the internet is it starts to be complicated sometimes. I know that the next Henri Edmond film will probably be quite long, and I know it's not the right way to do it if I want to reach a greater audience. But I accepted that maybe the internet, maybe I'd better stick with the way I want to do my films, and if it doesn't reach its audience, well, that's it. You can't fight it. But I just want to keep making my films with my own philosophy, and if I'm not reaching my 60 million views, that's not that much of a problem.
Yeah, please don't ever change. You stay true to who you are, and that's what gives your films and your work its charm. So don't ever change how you do things, because that's what makes you so wonderful.
And I have another project right now, and that is ready. I made 2 videos for Lego last year, and those 2 videos haven't been released yet, and they will probably. And that's what I learned this morning. I'm a bit frustrated. They will probably never be released.
What?
Yeah, because they had plans for the. Maybe you probably know Dylan Woodley is another stop motion animator, and it's Insomniac Animation, and he has done wonderful brick films, and he directed this series called The Misadventures of Brickbeard, which is that he directed for Lego. He made 4 or 5. It's a season of 4 or 5 brick films, and he asked different brick filmers to make the second season. And I was asked to do 2 different episodes, and we've been waiting for almost a year now to have those episodes screened on the YouTube of Lego. And this morning he sent me a message to tell me, bad news. I think Lego, they waited too much to release the season, and it will probably never be released. So that right now, I sent him an email to ask him if we can get the rights for those videos back, so that we can every brick filmer who contributed to that project could display their videos on their own YouTube accounts. Because I'd really like to show you what we did with Lillian last year, because it's one of the craziest thing we were asked to do. It was I wouldn't say that's my best, but that was one of the best experiences in Lego animation I had to do, and I'm a bit frustrated that it's not that it might not be released at all. So that I hope that in the future, either Lego or I will be able to screen it, and I just hope it doesn't end up in a drawer. I just don't want it to never see the light of day.
Yeah, no,
because
you
I've
need to get
worked.
the rights for that. I mean, I'm sure Lego, if they're not going to release it, that they will happily give up the rights for your work so that you can display it on your own channel. I mean, that's really only fair.
Yeah, yeah, but the thing is, I don't know, because we made those films for Lego with the, I don't know, copyrighted characters from them. I don't know if we are allowed to screen it on. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But
I hope so.
fingers crossed, things could end up well, and I might be able to share it. Let's hope.
Oh, definitely, or at least maybe edit out the parts that might be copyright for them, but then just show the rest of your work. I mean,
Yeah, but the
definitely
problem
don't
is
let
that
that go. You need to keep asking about that, and I hope that'll get taken care of
I
shortly
hope
for
that
you.
sees the light of day.
Sorry.
I hope that they see the light of day and they are able to be released.
Yeah, I hope so.
We put
The problem is that the copyrighted character is the main character, and is in all the videos all along. But, well, I don't know. Let's hope that things will end up well, and that we'll be able to share that film, because those films, because there are two different films, and I'm quite curious because I like Dylan's work as well. He's a crazy animator. He's doing wonderful work.
Dylan's one of our
I like to
favorites.
see what he has created for this season. So yeah, and other studios worked on it as well. So that, yeah, I really want to see what was created. So let's hope we'll see that sooner or later.
Definitely, hopefully sooner.
Yeah, so.
I guess we will let you go. As much as we hate it, there's even things we didn't even touch on, but you
let me know. I still have some time. Let's say if you want 10 more minutes now to talk about.
I know you wanted to
whatever
talk.
you want. Let's take 10 minutes more.
I know you wanted to talk about how he moved the scene. The background.
The car chases. You moved the entire scenic and to have it going in the background where the car was just or the truck was affixed to the camera. Is that correct?
Yes, the chase sequence was another tricky one. It's another, well, it's stop motion, but it's a technique called go motion. Actually, the exposure of the camera is a long exposure, and while we are taking the picture, the background is sliding at the same time, so that you create a motion blur, a real motion blur. It's not a special effect. Well, actually, it's a special effect, but it's not computer generated. It's made during the shooting. The background is sliding from one side to the other, and it creates the feeling that there's a real speed on screen. It was a bit tricky to create in the beginning, because I wrote that the chase sequence. I had more or less the idea how I wanted to direct it, but I never tried go motion. So that there's a sequence earlier in Copyright where Henri Edmond are fleeing the bad guys with Edmond's car. And it's the first time I'm using go motion. It's the first time I was using this technique, and it's that I have a background with houses and trees and everything that is sliding, that I have to move with my own hands during the while I'm shooting. Actually, I usually have 2 seconds of exposure, and during those 2 seconds, the background moves, and between each shot, I have to move the background from the same distance, so that the speed seems always the same from frame to frame.
That's got to be hard to do by hand.
Yes, it is. Actually, it's not that complicated, because I made some kind of and I don't know how to call that. I made a Lego hallway for my set, for the background. I mean, I had a lot of how do you call that? Some Lego plates that were directly stuck to the table, and the background is just moving in between Lego plates. That the Lego plates don't move, and you move the set between the Lego plates so that it's always going the same direction. It doesn't go
in or out
to the backward, to the background, or it's not going back and forth. It's just going from right to left, and then you just have to make sure during the 2 seconds that you always move more or less the same distance. It's not that tricky when you're doing it. I think when you have come up with the idea in the beginning, it's a bit tricky. But once you're used to it, I've been using it many other times. I've done a Lego Batman advertisement. I'm using that technique again, and I'm using it quite often. But you don't usually. Well, it's subtle. You don't see that much. The chase, you see it because it's 4 minutes of only that technique. 4 minutes of the background moving. But in Plastic Love, I use it also. But it's a mix between normal shots with camera movements and go motion shots. And it's a little bit more subtle in Plastic Love. But it's... With the copyright, it was a 4 minutes long sequence. So of course you notice that the background is moving, and you might do that without moving the background because it's the background is already blurry, on the pictures, because the characters are not blurry, but the background is. But it creates the feeling of a speed. It makes it gives you the feeling that the truck is going really fast when actually the truck is not moving. It's the background that is moving. The truck is more or less the truck is just moving a little bit. I make it shake a little bit, just in between each frame. I just shake it a little bit so that it gives the feeling that it's driving on the road that is not perfectly, that there might be rocks or something, so that the truck is just shaking a little bit, is rocking a little bit, but the background is the real thing that is moving during the shooting.
Well, you've motivated me to want to do some go motion test down in my studio. It looks like a really neat technique to utilize.
Yeah, and it makes good action sequences, and it creates the effect of speed,
mm-hmm.
which is not easy usually in stop motion. Create the speed on screen, but go motion is a really nice technique, and that's part of the challenges that I appreciate when doing stop motion. Like I remember when copyright was released, there were so many brick films about guys fighting, with punching each other and everything there. And I thought, okay, I should try to make an action sequence, but not using any punch or anything, just trying to go another direction, trying to do something else. And making a car chase was the good way of saying, okay, I'm doing something new. I'm doing action, as we can see in other brick films, but I'm doing the action my own way, And I thought it was good to have a car chase in Lego because it's a challenge, and at the same time it's really thrilling, both to create and to watch. And it was, I think, rather new back in the days. There was not that much go motion sequences in 2011. Was a bit new, and I was quite happy to experiment something that had not been done, or almost not been done before.
Mm-hmm. Well, I strongly urge our listeners, anyone who has not seen your videos, take the time to watch them. It is so worth it. And like you said, reference to one of your videos, I won't give it all too much away, but your videos are more than plastic. They are a true experience of heart and soul, and really you just get so much out of watching them. They're such a pleasure. Love your work. And I thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It has been such a pleasure for us.
I hope I haven't been too long.
No, there's no such thing.
You've been perfect. Thank you.
You have been so wonderful.
And if people are still there listening, I just have to tell them they are wonderful people because they are really patient. and they probably are very good brick filmers, because if you can stay here listening to me for two hours and a half, you're probably able to make the best brick films in the world because you have the patience for them.
Well, but listening to you, so you're giving such great tips to our listeners, and it's really wonderful to hear. Like you said, when you get to work with people, you get to see and learn by watching how they do things. But kind of our chats here, we're wanting to get the same thing. At least you can hear how people are doing things and maybe give them some ideas on how to do their stop motion.
I've learned so much from our podcast.
Thank you.
So
I'm
we
really
thank
happy.
you for that.
I'm really eager to discover your next brick film with a crazy car chase in go motion.
And you will get credit for that.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can remember, because 2.5 hours ago, and my memory's so bad. I want to say the and I know I'm gonna destroy it. A plus.
A plus. See ya.
I was close. It's the thought that counts, right?
I'll stick with au revoir.
Au revoir. Thank you again, though. Wishing you a wonderful rest of the evening, and really just huge thanks for joining us today. Can't wait to share this with everyone.
Very much. As we say, au revoir, à bientôt.
Au revoir.
See you soon.
Or I just say ditto. Copy that. All right, and we'll look forward to the rest of your work. We'll share all of the links to your channels, your website, so everybody can make sure they see all of the wonderful work that you have done.
Thank you so much. That's great. You're great. You're so great. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for this podcast.
And thank you too. All right, you take care.
Au revoir.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much to Maxime for being so generous with his time, and thanks to everyone who stuck with us through this entire podcast. Please check out our sponsors and partners on the Brick Filmers Guild homepage, and don't forget to check out Maxime's amazing brick films on his website and YouTube channel, Studios Epsilon. We want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters, Spuggastew, Something's Awry Productions, Frame 5 Studios, Dude Brick, and Mind Game Studios. Your support truly means the world to us. Thank you so much. If you would like to sponsor one of our podcasts, please contact me through one of our social media sites. We'd also like to thank Kevin MacLeod for his wonderful music, which we use for our podcasts and in our brick films. Also, if you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, please rate and comment. We'd really appreciate that. Lastly, there are 2 ballots that members of the Brick Filmers Guild can vote on: voting for 2017 Brick Filmer of the Year and 2017 BFG Film Festival Members' Choice. You have until the end of March to cast your vote. Links to the ballots are on the BFG website. So, until next time, bye y'all!